Having seen as many Christmas horror movies as I have, this one was a delight. My bar for quality has to kind of get lowered when it does come time to view Christmas horror movies because there's a lot of them and they're not the greatest. Hello and happy December from Rotted Reviews, and today I would like to talk about the new release from Shudder, It's a Wonderful Knife. Written by Michael Kennedy and directed by Tyler McIntyre, this movie follows the character of Winnie, played by Jane Widdop, and she lives a pretty happy life with her brother, her mother, her father, played by Joel McHale. But everything in Angel Falls isn't quite what it seems, because there's a mayor in town that's a real estate developer by the name of Henry Waters, played by Justin Long, who is an absolute caricature of a sleazebag. It wouldn't be a horror movie with Justin Long if he wasn't some sleazebag or another. It's just the way it works. Mike here, freezing his butt off in my awesome tunnel of lights to just let you know that if you want to support this channel, the best way to do it is to just share the content. But beyond that, if you want to support me even further, go ahead and click like and subscribe if you've been digging my content. And if you want to, check out the Patreon. We have Discord benefits, watch parties, all sorts of great stuff, with everything starting at only $1 a month. I'm going to go ahead and get back inside and get warm now. Back to the review. Until one fine Christmas Eve where she's at a party and a slasher situation appears. And that is the length and breadth of what I'm going to be describing about this movie with a plot line. But suffice it to say, it is definitely not the end of where this entire movie goes. It is not your typical slasher. It definitely has a few twists and turns that I didn't see coming and I was delighted by. I went into this movie completely blind, and that's honestly how I would recommend viewing it. So that's why I'm not going to give any other information. I easily could without giving spoilers, but the thing is, every 15 minutes or so for the first half hour, this movie changes tone and direction in a way that was really surprising, kept me on my toes, and honestly, I was kind of delighted by. And I see now, after watching the movie, that looking at the trailer kind of gives a lot of it away, and kind of wish that wasn't the case, but regardless. I mean, it's not like it's a critical thing to go in blind, not like 2021's Silent Night with Keira Knightley, but I do think it would probably be the best viewing experience for this movie. Just let it unfold, let it surprise you every 15 minutes, and get the feeling for what the movie's actually about and the way that the story properly unfolds. So I see that there's some opinions about this that are rather divided, and what I can say is, having seen as many Christmas horror movies as I have, this one was a delight. My bar for quality has to kind of get lowered when it does come time to view Christmas horror movies because there are plenty of them. There are well over 100 at this point, and the quality on average dips pretty hard as soon as the Yuletide and killers get put into the stew together. Something about it, I don't know, but there's a lot of them and they're not the greatest. So when I do see a movie that has a high production value, a lot of care put into it, decent twists and turns, interesting storyline, characters that, aren't the most believable, aren't the most interesting, but at the same time also have performances that kind of remind me in some odd way of the caricature-esque aspect of them, of being a Hallmark Christmas movie, I gotta say that what I look for in a Christmas horror movie, 2023's It's a Wonderful Knife brings to the table. I was delighted through and through. It's not the greatest movie in the world, but I enjoyed it for what it was trying to be. It has the Christmassy vibes. It has the fun atmosphere. It has the life lessons learned through the spirit of the Yuletide. It has the slasher elements. It has all sorts of just great stuff imbued within it. I was a big fan of how this movie did keep me on my toes. There were elements of it that were just genuinely surprised. Oh, okay, this is the kind of movie we're getting now. Nope, I thought it was, but now this is the kind of movie we're getting now. it was fun. It was a fun little roller coaster ride to go on. At the half-hour mark, the movie is fairly well established in what it was trying to do, and it just kind of coasts from there. And yeah, it's still fun in that regard, but I would have to say that the last quarter of the movie was probably one of the weakest. Just because I found this movie a delight doesn't mean that I didn't find fault with it. I most certainly did. There were aspects, especially towards the very end. All I'll really say is Green-Eyed Cult. We'll just let that stand where it is. I found that to be really, really an odd placement for things. It was a weird chord to strike in contrast with the entirety of the movie that had happened before it. Some of the slasher elements of it are a little bit cheesy. Some of the effects aren't not nearly as well placed in the gore factor as I would have liked. What is it about a knife cutting a throat that can be done so poorly, even in a high production value movie like this? But, again, my bar is set low. There are some people that will actually get on my case a little bit about the difference between how much I praise a movie in the verbiage of my reviews versus the actual score that I give. And the score is meant to reflect just a purely analytical, not objective, everything is subjective, but just the quality of the film itself. And what it was trying to do gets kind of reflected within the intent score there, and how well it actually achieved what it was trying to do. So I, kind of developed that category to offer a bit of charity to the films that were schlock and meaning to be schlock and actually pulled off schlock well. I think that there is some value to that. But regardless, the score is just purely analytical and doesn't always reflect the actual fun time that I had. And that would probably be the case for It's a Wonderful Knife. I enjoyed this movie very much for what it was. As far as something to kick off the horror Christmas season, this was a great entry. And I am now firmly in the Yuletide spirit, ready to watch more Christmas horror movies, fully recognizing that they're probably not going to be nearly as good as this going forward. But who knows, for every dozen or so Krampus Unleashed and Krampus Origins and so forth, you actually have a quality movie like Krampus. So maybe there'll be some good ones this year. We'll have to just see, but that's going to continue on with the rest of the month of December, which I look forward to seeing you all there for then. In the meantime, if you do want to watch a Christmas horror movie, I would recommend It's a Wonderful Knife. So let's pour ourselves a cup of eggnog or a cup of cocoa or whatever you prefer. Enjoy the rest of the December holiday season together. And remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and